Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Business Standing Committee meeting of March. We will start this evening with the land acknowledgement of traditional territory, and that'll be read by Superintendent Sidlowski, please.
Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabeg people. The Anishinaabeg include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you. We will now have the national anthem. So if you're able, would you please rise for the instrumental version of the national anthem, courtesy of Twin Lakes Secondary School. The statement of respect will be read by Superintendent Sidlowski, please.
The SCDSB is committed to creating a culture of belonging, engagement, and success for all through deliberate actions and an intentional focus on the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The SCDSB Board of Trustees will conduct meetings in an inclusive, respectful manner that upholds the principles of respect for human rights and allow all members, staff, and guests to participate fully regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, age, ability, and gender.
Thank you. We're now at the roll call, and we have no people participating electronically tonight, and we do have regrets from Trustee Wilson. So next I will ask for approval of the agenda. Is there someone who would like to move the agenda? Thank you. Sorry, folks. Trustee Grummett and a seconder. Thank you. Trustee Powell. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Are there any declaration of conflict of interest for this evening? Okay, none noted. We have no presentations and delegations. Under items for decision, we have staff report BSC D1A, attendance area review 2024-02, New Aurelia Elementary School and program review, and that will be Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and with the chair's permission, I'd like to invite Senior Manager Kukin and Assistant Manager Klee to the table to support any questions that may arise, and would like to acknowledge the large amount of work and effort that has been put in by particularly their team with regards to fostering the system through this process, gathering all the data, making recommendations and adjustments to bring us to this point today.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
So, following the guidelines of Board Policy 2317, School Attendance Areas, the Administrative Procedure Memorandum A7000, School Attendance Areas, the review is undertaken to create an attendance area for the new Aurelia Elementary School, which is targeted to open in September 2027. The schools included in the review are Couchiching Heights Public School, Harriet Todd Public School, Lions Oval Public School, Marchmount Public School, Orchard Park Public School, Regent Park Public School, and Severn Shores Public School. When considering new attendance areas and changes to existing attendance areas, the intent is to balance school enrollments, create sustainable and stable school populations, and school programs, efficiently use of accommodation, and realize transportation efficiencies while also preparing for future growth. The new Aurelia Elementary School was approved as a result of accommodation pressures and growth, particularly in the West Ridge and Cumberland area of Severn Township. To inform the school community, share information and obtain feedback relating to the proposed boundaries and recommendations, staff undertook a variety of actions, which included written communication with the school communities and meeting with school administration, an online thought exchange that was held from October 28th to November 17th, 2025, to garner feedback on the proposals. We held an in-person drop-in information session at Orchard Park on November 6th, 2025. There were approximately 60 attendees, along with board staff from the schools and multiple departments. Many individuals simply had requests for clarification and dialogue around specific addresses. There was also significant interest in the school design, construction progress, and from the Severn Shores Public School community. Staff also accepted comments via a dedicated email address. While more detail is provided in the report, and feedback was largely influenced by potential impact of individual families, the most common topics and concerns and themes that were heard included concerns from the Severn Shore Public School community, impacts on friendships, proximity and busing concerns, secondary school boundaries, before and after school program availability, transition concerns, general support for the new school and the proposed boundaries, and opposition from those not wanting change. Staff do thank the community for their time and contributions to this process. After further analysis and considering the feedback received, staff's final recommendations to be implemented for the 2027 school year at the elementary panel and the 2028 school year for secondary are as follows. Apply the proposed boundaries as set out in Appendix F and C in the report. Remove holding status for the holding area currently directed to Lions Oval Public School and directed to the new Aurelia Elementary School. Direct all students graduating from the new Aurelia Elementary School from Aurelia Secondary School to Twin Lakes Secondary School effective September 2028 as outlined in Appendix G. That the proposed Severn Shores transfer area be designated as a Severn Shores holding area effective March 25th, 2026, as set out in Appendix H. That all new students residing within the proposed Severn Shores holding area who attend Severn Shores Public School after March 25th, 2026, will attend Orchard Park Public School effective September 2027. Any students who are in attendance at Severn Shores Public School as of March 25th, 2026, who reside within the proposed new holding area will be permitted to apply for out-of-area attendance. And that the proposed Severn Shores Public School holding area become the permanent attendance boundary for Orchard Park Public School effective June 30th, 2027. It has been the board's practice to close schools to out-of-area attendance the year attendance area changes come into effect. Staff recommend all elementary schools involved in the review be closed to out-of-area attendance except for, as previously highlighted, for students in the Severn Shores holding area in attendance as of March 25th, 2026 at Severn Shores Public School. As per policy 2317, school attendance areas, students entering grade 8 in the September of the school opening will be given the choice to graduate from their current home school despite a change in attendance areas. Staff are not proposing any changes to the French immersion programs currently held at Harriet Todd Public School and Regent Park Public School. It should also be noted that no other proposed changes to the Harriet Todd Public School or Regent Park Public School attendance areas are being recommended. Staff acknowledge that some uncertainty currently exists, particularly as it relates to transportation and staffing. Subject to board approval, these items will be available when the Simcoe County Student Transportation Consortium and SEDSB staff progress through their respective planning processes prior to the 2027-2028 school year. Transition plans and supports will be cooperatively developed and implemented by the respective school administrations in order to make the experience positive and exciting. Staff believe the recommendations outlined best address the current accommodation and program pressures at schools involved in this review, while also taking into account feedback from the community and future growth. Staff took all feedback and amended our recommendations to accommodate concerns as reasonable a degree as possible. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that report. Are there questions from trustees at the table? Okay. Yes, Trustee Grummet, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Superintendent Van Nispen. I see that Severn Shores Public School was added to the review. What was the capacity of that public school, and why was it added? Thank you.
Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Grummet. So the current utilization of Severn Shores Public School is 148%. So it is quite high, and so we are restricted on any future growth there with regards to we have reached max capacity for portables on that site.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Superintendent Van Nispen, I was wondering if you could outline the plans for specifically grade 7 students who are close to graduating and maybe would prefer to stay in the school they are in currently. Are there any plans to kind of, keep them at their home schools?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair. As per our policy and past practice, we do allow those grade 7 students as they go into the grade 8 year in 2020, it'll be September 2027, to make that choice on whether they want to stay at the school they currently are attending or whether they want to move on to their new school.
Okay, thank you for the question. Trustee Rafiq, please.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. I just have a couple of questions. The different ways that you outlined that we were seeking feedback, how do you let the community know about those? What are the different ways that we connect with people to make sure that they know about how to give that feedback?
Superintendent, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq. So a number of ways we obviously did our social media. We have our postings on our website, school and board. We also had letters sent home to the families of the schools that were being included in the review.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you very much. I know that this process can be very emotional for families. People get very connected to their schools. We work very hard to make our schools a hub of the community, and we saw in our recent climate data that our students are happy at their schools. They feel welcome at their schools. They feel a part of them. So these changes can be hard. Lots of times people are excited for a new school, but sometimes it is hard to leave their school as well. I'm sure you ran into some of that along the way. Can you just speak to maybe some of the concessions and changes that you made to help accommodate those and kind of make people feel a little bit better about the changes?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq, I'll start and then ask for any additional comments from the team here. But part of the transition to these new schools we've seen in the past is the climate that is set by the administrators at the various schools. So as indicated, they will be working now going forward on coming up with those events with the communication to the families, to the students, to start embracing the new school that potentially the students will be attending. Don't know if you folks have additional comments around that.
Hi, through the chair to Trustee Rafiq. Also, what is unique about these attendance boundaries that are happening currently now and the next 2 that are coming up is that we're 1 year further out. So that also provides a lot more opportunity for the principals and the superintendents to work with the transitions for the students, as opposed to having that March 31st deadline. So we have a whole year to transition and make sure everything's okay. And as well as one of the larger questions that come back is if there's any special education needs. we're making sure that those students are well adjusted and feel very comfortable as they move to the new schools.
Thank you. Yeah, Trustee Bites, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to our presenters. Aurelia has a population of 37,000, and I'm just surprised. I guess I've never really looked at it, but it seems like we have a lot of schools there. And I'm just thinking of some of our, I thought it was a lot bigger than it is, but it has 2 high schools and several elementary schools. So I'm just wondering, are we expecting, is this new school for projected growth? Is there some new developments going on there?
Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you. Through the chair and to Trustee Bites. So the schools that have been highlighted in this attendance area review are in Aurelia proper, but also the surrounding area. So they're not necessarily within school limits. Yes, we did attract the funding for a new elementary school in Aurelia because of the growth that we have seen and are projecting to see in the Aurelia and surrounding area.
If I could just add to that, especially at the secondary level, as Superintendent Van Nispen mentioned, it's serving multiple municipalities that extend far beyond the borders of Aurelia as well. So, and we are expecting growth in Westridge in particular, but then in Severn as well.
Thank you. Trustee Armstrong, please.
I have a couple of questions in regards to the letters concerned parents about some of the boundary change decisions, Severn Shores, and I guess it's a unique situation with, you have Highway 11, a 4-lane highway, and you naturally think, okay, on one side of the highway, this is the boundary, the other side of the highway, this is the boundary. So and I'm not sure if I missed that in the report, was there a response about that sort of decision making? Why not keep, I guess for Severn and that small group in that beach area, why not keep it allow them not to be disrupted because of that? Because it sounds like the highway is a major divider, and it's to the new school that they're going to go, it's going to be much farther. So I didn't see the response about that. And I guess the other question is too, it's like, is that something that's not possible? Like, have you been in communication saying some things are possible again, or some are not? These are decisions that are coming forward that are affecting this fall. So, obviously, it's probably not going to have any change. I don't think we're going to be recommending many changes, but the feedback about a highway situation, because that's kind of unique. I mean, the city of Barrie also has a highway going through it, so it has a lot more entrances and exits though than Highway 11. So just feedback about that, and why not keep the boundary as it is.
Superintendent Van Nispen or Assistant Manager Klee?
I'll give her a whirl. So when you look at the rural populations, and we've seen that when we did the last attendance boundary for the Marchmont and that rural area, students are not collected in very large pockets because they're rural roads. So they, every concession you get 1 or 2 or 3 kids. So we did look at the highway as a divide at first to see, what student population would we have on the east and on the west. And there wasn't a significant amount of students on the west side of the highway. And so then we looked at other natural divides, and there are, where the division has occurred is that that road does not connect up to the rest of Minoki Beach. So it is an actual divide, and students would have to go out to the highway, up the highway, and back around. So the bus actually goes up and down twice. So it's not as seamless as one would say, because at that particular Brennan Line cutoff, there's not an overpass and underpass that you get on both ways. So you have to go both up and down. So that is the area in which we reviewed. And in terms of the number of students, there was a group of community that could then all be transferred together. In addition, Minoki Beach is this particular area. There is a secondary plan that is currently under development. We have secured an elementary school site within that area. It is a long way off. There's no servicing. Things aren't happening. So we're basically buying time for the next 20 years as that development comes online and houses are sold and servicing is developed. So we consciously looked at all the different options that there were available to ensure that we weren't doing small pockets of students.
Debates, please.
Yes, thank you. Through you to our presenters. I was wondering if you, maybe this is out of your scope, but do you look at how many, are a bunch of kids going to get to walk now that they have a school? Or how is this going to affect busing? I know it's a very rural area, but are we able to save on any buses as a result of this new school?
Superintendent Van Nispen?
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Bites, it is affecting strictly the bus students that are currently bused. As I indicated, it won't be until the planning phase next for the 2027-2028 school year when the Transportation Consortium and SCDSB staff sit down and start mapping that all out as to what the final layout of those buses traveling around are. But the students that the student populations that are being affected here are bus students.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Trustee Armstrong, please.
And just another question through to Superintendent Van Nispen. When you receive or your staff receives correspondence, which you've included, thank you for that. That's it's good to be able to get the response from various groups or individuals. Are you responding back to them in kind, in writing? Are you addressing the points that they're making, or are you basically sending, this is going to the board? And I'm just curious as to how is the response, because some of the questions are quite particular and some are general, but how are they getting a response back?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Armstrong. So responses have taken different forms, different formats. So obviously when we had the public forum drop in, we were able to answer questions directly there. More recent inquiries, we have directed the individual to the report that is presented here tonight, as we believe that this has all the information that the communities need. And then if there's any questions beyond that, then by all means have them reach back out.
Okay, anything further? Okay, so I just have a few things. This is my area, and I was at the meeting that was held at Orchard Park. And I would like to thank staff considerably for taking into consideration the feedback that we received, to be able to accommodate those students that will be enrolled, to grandfather them to apply for out of area. I think that is a huge concession, and I think it is shows that we listened to the parents and what their concerns were. So I'd like to thank you for that. And I know that, a transition like this is always challenging. When we've done them before, it is hard because we are changing something that's been in place probably for a very long time. I think, we knew we would have to do this when the funding, was announced for the new school in Westridge, and we knew it would affect boundaries. And so we are at that point. One of the issues that was brought forward during the public meetings, and it was people who were very concerned about the before school and after school care, because some had been waiting on the wait list for Severn Shores and then finally got into daycare at Severn Shores and then may have to, or is the potential to switch. So can you just sort of give me some information about how we're going to handle the daycare situation for kids who do have to move to the new school? or how we're working with our daycare provider to address that.
Through you to Trustee Lloyd. So what was very exciting is one of the operators was actually at the open house, and they were very much interested in how the transition would happen, and in terms of, if they received the contract, because that's still going out for the RFQ to determine which the operator will be. And they assured that they would be able to manage. We would make sure that the students that are currently within that program are given top priority to be transferred over to either school. And they're very much excited, looking forward to that opportunity. So it becomes a hierarchy. It gets a little bit more difficult if it's a different operator, which has happened in another attendance boundary review. And once again, we ensured we passed on all the information to the operators, coordinated that between them, so that they were able to manage the families. So, Andrew.
And just to follow up on that, that process is actually happening this spring. So we will have an answer about that well in advance of the school opening. So we're in good shape there.
Okay, thank you very much. I did have another question was, the parents received significant notification when we originally, your original proposal was put forward, and we had a very good turnout the night of the open house at Orchard Park. And I'm just wondering, have the parents received a notification from the school? Has there been an update to parents, or how are they being notified of this change and these recommendations?
Thank you, and through the chair to the chair. So a letter did go out to all families that are affected by this tenancy review this past Monday, highlighting that this report was coming to business tonight and contained all the information and recommendation that will be going to board at the end of this month.
Okay, and then I had one other question with respect to transportation. We currently bus all the students from West Ridge to Orchard Park, currently. When we do this review, it's hoped that, a good portion of those students would now be able to walk to school or would be in a walk zone in West Ridge. So is there the potential for this to actually reduce the number of buses that we're currently using? Because, the kids in Minoki are already being bused to Seven Shores, so those buses are going to bring them into Orchard Park. So is there the potential to reduce the number of buses we're currently using with this transition?
Sidebar here, Trustee.
There you go.
Trustees. So as the crow flies, it looks like the majority of the students within the West Ridge area will be walkers. There's just some periphery streets that the Transportation Consortium will have to make that final determination. So in essence, all of the students within that whole area will be walkers.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. And the other comment I just wanted to make was that, I'm glad to see the change with the high schools to balance the enrollment between Aurelia Secondary and Twin Lakes, because it is, Aurelia Secondary is at capacity, and then there is still, space at Twin Lakes. So I think that's, I support fully the move to sort of balance the enrollments at the high school as well. So that answers my questions, and we will. I did indicate to people in the area that we would be reviewing this tonight at committee, and then it would go to board at the end of the month. So there would be opportunity for people, if they wanted to ask further questions or to delegate, they had that opportunity between now and the end of the month. So thank you very much for the report. And once again, I do thank you for taking into consideration the feedback from the families and making that concession for the ones who are already there. I think that's very, very positive. So thank you for that. Any further questions? Okay, I don't see any. So we do have two recommendations. I think it's three, from this report. So I'll read the first one. And then the Business and Facilities Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the proposed elementary attendance areas effective September 2027 is set out in Appendix F and report number BSC D1A, attendance area review 2024-02, New Aurelia Elementary School, dated March the 4th, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Thank you. Trustee Talbot, and seconded by Trustee Armstrong. Call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that is carried. The second recommendation is that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve the proposed secondary attendance areas effective September 2028 is set out in Appendix G and report number BSC D1A, attendance area review 2024-02, New Aurelia Elementary School, dated March 4th, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Talbot, thank you. A seconder? Thanks, Trustee Grummet. Call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. And the third is that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve the establishment of Severn Shores Public School holding area effective March 25th, 2026, as set out in Appendix H and report number BSC D1A, attendance area review 2024-02, New Aurelia Elementary School, dated March the 4th, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Trustee Grummet, and a seconder. Thank you, Trustee Strawn. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So that takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is B. It's BSC D1B, Trustee Determination and Distribution 2026, and that's Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you. With the chair's permission, I'd like to keep Senior Manager Kukin here, as he was the mathematician behind this this report. So the report before you tonight, the number of elected school board trustees and their distribution are governed by the Education Act and by Ontario Regulation 412/00. In an election year, the board must approve the number of trustees and the distribution by no later than March 31. The report and approved motions must be submitted to the Minister of Education, election clerks of municipalities, and other boards in the jurisdiction by April 3rd, 2026. Data received from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or MPAC, in February of an election year is the basis of the determination process. Note that the appointment of a First Nations representative is governed under Ontario Regulation 462/97 and is not part of this process. The number of trustees is calculated based on the formulas and factors set out in the regulations. There are a total of 352,707 English public electoral voters in the county, which results in a total number of 11 trustees, as set out in Table 2 of this report, and is unchanged from 2022. The board does not qualify for any additional trustees due to the special factors of area, density, dispersal, or enrollment. The board also has the ability to designate municipalities as low population. Based on the data and distribution options in Simcoe County, it is recommended that no areas within the board be considered as low population. Trustee distribution is determined by developing electoral quotients. An electoral quotient is calculated by taking the number of English public electoral voters by municipality or ward, multiplying it by the number of trustees, 11 in this case, and dividing by the total English public electoral voters. A quotient represents a share of the total population for which representation is distributed. The quotients for municipalities and wards are combined in an effort to achieve a total electoral quotient of as close to 1 as reasonably determined, representing 1 trustee. When comparing the 2026 quotients to the 2022 quotients, it is evident that the overall population trends and patterns are being maintained. While Simcoe County's southern municipalities do have modestly lower quotients, it must be noted that these are also the areas with the highest projected population increases going forward. The most notable differences in the analysis is the approved changes to the City of Barrie ward boundaries. While the staff recommendation does not change the ward representation in terms of ward numbers, the new boundaries mean trustee distribution within the City of Barrie would represent a different geography under this scenario. And for those trustees that are in the City of Barrie and following those wards, if I have this correctly, new wards 5 and 3 are the old wards 5 and 3, but are adding a divided up old ward 4. The new ward 4 takes pieces of the old wards 8 and 10, while the new ward 8 is the ward 8 losing a piece of the new ward 4, but picks up a piece from the old ward 7. I hope I got that right. Staff did analyze different combinations of municipalities and wards throughout the county. While opportunities do exist to better balance representation strictly from a quotient perspective, the changes would be significant and create a domino effect with the frequent divisions and combinations of municipalities by ward. Despite the modest disparities, staff believe that the status quo is advisable. This avoids the additional division of municipalities and accounts for the changing demographics within the county and growing population trends, which will improve proportional representation naturally over time. And with that, take any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Superintendent or Trustee Rafiq, please.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. I'm just curious, and this question just kind of came to me as we were sitting here. This is work that you are required to do. The minister has, I'm sure people have heard, the minister has made comments in the media about not having elected trustees next term. So I'm just curious, did you receive any information whatsoever telling you, yes, please go ahead and do this work? Or was it just the standard status quo? Because I'm just curious. I would hate to see our extremely busy staff doing extra work that they don't need to do. So I'm just curious.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq. Yes, we were directed to follow legislation and the legislative timelines, and were provided the modeling to do so.
Okay. Trustee Bites, please.
Yes, thank you. Through you to Superintendent Van Nispen. It looks like the redistribution in Barrie, if I'm understanding it correctly, has made their wards more even. So although the recommendation is the exact same, the proportions of people in those wards have changed. So it's actually flipped now. So there's like the highest quotient in 1, 2, 3, I think. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
That's correct, Trustee Bates. With the new boundaries, it does reflect a better population distribution amongst the 3 trustees within that area.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, there are 3 recommendations coming from this as well. I'll read all 3 of them and maybe we can move them as a package. The first is that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve that there are no additional trustees required due to population density or area factors as set out in report number BSC D1B, Trustee Determination and Distribution 2026, dated March 4th, 2026. Second is that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve that no areas within the board's jurisdiction be considered a low population area for election purposes as set out in report number BSCD 1B, Trustee Determination and Distribution 2026, dated March 4th, 2026. And the third is that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve the trustee determination of 11 trustees and the trustee distribution as set out in Appendices C and D of report number, it's not worded right there. BSC D1B, Trustee Determination and Distribution 2026, dated March 4th, 2026. Is there a mover for these 3 recommendations? Okay, Trustee Strawn, thank you, and a seconder in Trustee Bites. Any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And anyone opposed? And that is carried. That takes us to item D, which is BSC D1C, Revisions to policy 2230, general purchasing, and that's Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and through the chair. So before you tonight is the general purchasing policy, which was up for the review in our cycle. Aside from updating to board standards, staff have recommended in Section 3 the removal of the reference to non-consulting services, as direction has changed for all purchases to follow the approval authority schedule. In addition to that, staff are recommending that vice principals be added with the same authority as assistant managers in order to support school operations. In the absence of the principal, the VP can then initiate procurements that have been budgeted for or approved accordingly. With that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions with respect to this report? Okay, seeing none, there is a recommendation that the Business Standing Committee recommend that the board approve revisions to policy 2230, general purchasing, as set out in Appendix B of report number BSC D1C, revisions to policy 2230, general purchasing, dated March 4th, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Foley, and seconded by Trustee Bites. Call the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. That takes us into items for information. The first this evening is BSC-1A 2025-26 student enrollment on October 31st, 2025. And Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and with the chair's approval, I'd like to invite Manager Rick Hodgkinson to the table to support this report. So student and enrollment information is reported to the ministry 3 times per year for all elementary and secondary schools on the defined count dates, or for the defined count dates of October 31st, March 31st, and June 30th. All information is reported through the ministry's Ontario Student Information System, or ONSYS. This report details student enrollment reported for the October 31st, 2025 count date, with comparisons to enrollment reported last year for the same count date. And with that, I'll have Manager Hodgkinson speak to some of the details.
Thank you, Superintendent Van Nispen, and through the chair to the table. All enrollment in this report represents head count, so actual number of students registered and attending on the defined count date of October 31st, 2025. Total enrollment for elementary and secondary reported on October 31st of this year was 57,428 students. This is a slight increase from the start of school enrollment numbers that we presented at the October 1st, 2025 Business Standing Committee meeting. At that time, we reported 57,269 students. The report on in the table and charts on pages 1 and 2 of the report show a 5-year trend history, and then there's a chart showing enrollment by municipal area. Looking at enrollment by panel, we see elementary enrollment exceeds the 40,000 student mark, and secondary enrollment continues to remain at the 17,000 student level. The table and chart presented on page 3 of the report illustrates how elementary enrollment is distributed across grade levels and programs, with kindergarten students maintaining a level of around 7,300 students, grades 1 to 3 just under 11,000, grades 4 to 8 17,000, special education students maintaining 1,500 students, and French immersion maintaining 2,900 students. A similar picture is shown for secondary enrollment in the table and chart presented on page 4 of the report, with grade 9 maintaining a level of around 3,600 students, grade 10 3,700, grade 11 3,800, and grade 12 we see a return to the 4,300 level mark. Special education students remain around 500, and French immersion is consistent at the 1,000 student level. Elementary enrollment is further detailed in Appendix A, and secondary is presented in Appendix B. There is by school breakout, by grade breakout in both of those appendices. Looking ahead to March 31st, 2026 count date, we anticipate elementary enrollment to remain consistent at that 40,400 student level, while secondary enrollment is anticipated to dip slightly just below the 17,000 level. And the decrease in secondary is historically documented, where historically there's around a 2.5% decrease from October to March, accounting for grade 12 students who may attend for semester 1 only, and those students, current students that graduate after semester 1. So that is a documented decrease. And to finish off, our next reporting count date for ministry reporting will be the March 31st, 2026 count date. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that information. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Bites, please.
Yes, I was just looking at Appendix A, and I noticed you have JK, SK, all the way up. What is SE?
Please go ahead.
Through the chair to Trustee Bites, are you referring to FI?
No, it says
SE, special education students, my apologies. So those are special education students with a partially integrated placement that are 51% of the time in a learning center or a county special education county class. And that's the number of 1,500 identified special education students for elementary.
Trustee Bites, please.
Yes, thank you. A follow-up. Thank you, Manager Hodgkins. Sorry, my tongue's not working today. I was just really surprised with those numbers, because I thought that would only mean if there was a county class at the school. So I was surprised to see those numbers in at schools that I know don't have county classes. But obviously that number is way smaller than the number of kids that have IEPs. So I'm just wondering, I know you said they have a placement of, I'm just trying to understand what designates someone in that category, and I guess just because I've had questions about the learning centers and stuff and how that all works. I don't know if you have any further clarification you can provide. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Through the chair to Trustee Bites, for this report and for reporting to the ministry through ANSYS, a special education student is defined as a student that has been identified through the IPRC process with an identified placement of partially integrated. So a student could be partially integrated in a elementary learning center or a county class.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Foley?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I'm looking at, slide 6, report status, where it talks about in-year student enrollment change, and we're looking at a deficit of 783 on that. And I guess my question is, will we be looking at a reduction in classes and teachers as well?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Foley. We will be speaking more with regards to projections on future enrollment later tonight when we start going through some budget schedules. But we have, based on the numbers you see here before you, we have flattened, if not started to reduce a little bit on our enrollment numbers in the county.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? Trustee Bites.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent Vinisman and Manager Hodgkin. I was wondering, it seems, and you just mentioned the flattening, it does seem like things are leveling out a bit. And I know we've been talking about, I know we're years behind in our capital build, so maybe that is a mercy. I was just wondering how these numbers, our growth compares to the population growth in the area. I know there's a lag between things, but I was just wondering if you had any other insights in that respect. Thank you.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Bites. So our enrollment will reflect the overall population growth or decline being seen in the county, as well as we are also a reflection of what's happening in the province of Ontario as well.
Any other questions? I just had one question, and I know this is looking out, but they have indicated, I think it was last week, they said that they do not anticipate Canada's population to increase next year. So is that, if that takes place, do you think that our enrollment will further decline or stabilize as we look to the future? Go ahead, Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and through the chair to the chair. Again, we'll be speaking a bit more about this later. However, short-term projections do have the overall province declining in population and in enrollment. There's a multitude of factors that are playing into that, immigration being one of the larger driving factors.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any questions further on this? Okay, seeing none. That takes us to the next item, which is BSc I-1B, French Immersion Enrollment Data Update 2026. And we have a change of seats. Superintendent McLean, please.
Good evening, and through the chair to the table. As one of Canada's 2 official languages, French language is taught in all Ontario English language school boards, including Simcoe County. There are many advantages when students learn to speak more than one language, including strengthening problem solving and creative thinking skills, developing greater understanding and appreciation of diverse cultures, increased competitiveness and employment opportunities with a globalized world, and finally, enhanced first language and overall literacy skills. French immersion was introduced in Simcoe County in September 2013, starting in grade 1 and expanded a grade each year. The FI program was fully implemented in grade 1 to 12 by September 2024. The FI program is hosted at 19 elementary schools, 13 of which offer grade 1 and 7 secondary schools. In October 2025, Simcoe County communicated to the system the application process for entry into the Grade 1 FI program for the 26-27 school year, as well as the dates for the family information nights. The system-wide communication included template letters to be distributed by schools to all Year 2 kindergarten families. In addition to sending the letters, communication was also sent using School Messenger to reiterate the FI application process and timelines. Information about the program was also promoted via the Simcoe County District School Board website and social media. In-person family information nights were held throughout November 2025 to provide consistent information to families. The Student Achievement Department created a presentation information package to support the information nights, which provided an overview of the program, supports, program locations, transportation, application process, and frequently asked questions. The online Grade 1 FI application process opened at 9 a.m. on Monday, December 1st, 2025, and closed at 4 p.m. on Friday, December 12th, 2025. Following the closure of the online application, the data was sent to the BDO, Canada Barrie, to complete a randomized lottery. Finalized placements were then provided to Simcoe County. BDO also completed a quality and assurance audit to ensure confidence in the board's overall enrollment process. As part of the enrollment process, families were contacted by Simcoe County staff to clarify information on applicants that contained errors, duplications, and to ensure accuracy. Families that missed the online application window are still able to apply by completing an FI request form and submitting it to the respective FI school. The FI request form will be added to the Grade 1 FI list after the randomized lottery sequencing to ensure equity in order of application. Families of all applicants will be contacted in March to inform them of the outcome of their application, including next steps. You'll see an itemized total for each year from 21-22 through to 25-26, and I think it's very fair to say that our numbers have remained very consistent. Enrollment in the FI program has remained stable during the past 5 years, and again, we have totals of numbers from 21-22 through to 25-26. The final chart includes the grade 9 secondary enrollment status that we have up to date. It's important to note, on average, approximately 85% of elementary students transition from the elementary FI program into the corresponding secondary program, a trend or pattern that is consistent year to year. As next steps, Simcoe County regularly reviews a wide variety of data related to FI to ensure the program continues to meet the needs of students, families, and the school board. This includes reviewing applications by area and by school, program retention rates, transportation costs, patterns of overall student enrollment, and the impact on school accommodation, availability of qualified teaching staff, as well as student achievement data to ensure the program remains strong and viable. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions? Trustee Bites, please.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent McLean.
Excellent.
All right. I realize that our families have not gotten the results yet, but I'm wondering how many people are waitlisted based on this.
So through the chair to Trustee Bites, we have 13 schools that with each numbers we have, and our attempt is to have 2 classes in each school. So right now we're still working out the wait lists. Some school there are no wait lists, but there are, I think, 5 or 6 schools that do have a wait list.
Trustee Bites?
Yes, thank you. Through you to Superintendent McLean. I'm wondering about students. Often I hear from students that move into the board when they come from a board that had FI, and then there's some uncertainty about placement. And I'm just wondering, would they have to fill out the, what did you call it, the FI request form? And is there clear instructions on how to do that somewhere on our website?
Superintendent McLean, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Bites. So it is very detailed on our board site. Students that are not entry grade 1, very typically we are able to accommodate their request to enter FI.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you very much. That takes us to BSCI-1C 2025-26 revised estimates. Back to Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. So each spring, we establish our budget for the upcoming school year, our fiscal year. This budget is based on estimated student enrollment, which is the main attractor of funding in the Ministry of Education Core Ed funding model. In the fall, once students are in attendance and we are able to identify our in-the-seats enrollment number, we go through the process of revised estimates with the Ministry of Education to true up our expected funding for the school year. Our board's operating revenues are attracting and have increased to $777 million. The minimal change in funding that we've seen since budget from revised over budget is attributed to 2 sources. The first is Educator Qualification and Experience Grant, and what this funding is tied to is where teachers lie on the provincial funding matrix. At budget in the spring, we forecast where our staff will lie. However, once we hit revised estimates, we have the actual grid placement identified for those educators. And so the funding is essentially a flow through. The dollars that we receive are turned around and go into the payroll for those educators. In addition, the responsive education programs, REP, or formerly known as, and still many of us still call supplementary grants, are usually not fully committed or established by the ministry at budget time. So revised estimates gives us that final tally of funding for various initiatives the ministry is focusing on. You will recall that these are prescriptive by the ministry as to their focus and what the funding can be spent on. At budget, we knew and had planned for 4 of such grants. However, by revised estimates, as presented in Appendix B of this report, that number of funded initiatives is up to 22. In both cases, as indicated with regards to the Educator Qualification Experience Grant, these funds have been allocated and recognized by an increase in expenditures. With our submission, the key is in the middle of the page on Appendix A, where we identify that we are balanced for compliance with the Ministry of Education, or continue to be balanced for compliance with the Ministry of Education. And then as well, on the next page, we are meeting compliance with the school board administration and compliance with the facility and transportation areas. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Questions from trustees? Trustee Bites.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent Van Nispen. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. We're still having a shortfall in our funding, but it's not as bad as we initially expected. But that still means that we have a balanced budget and we're compliant. So I just, I'm sorry, I'm sure I've asked this before, but could you just maybe help me understand how we have a shortfall, but we still have a good budget?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Bites. So this is one of the nuances to the way that the financial folks report our revenues in and our expenses out. And you'll notice farther down on the page, we've got our transfer to, transfer from accumulated surplus. And this is where that net surplus deficit above is addressed. When we are planning to utilize funds that have been set aside in our accumulated surplus because a project spans more than 1 year, or we didn't get something accomplished in the current year, so we set the funds aside to do it in the following year. The model doesn't allow us to present those ins and outs up at that in the upper portion where the operating revenues are coming in. And so we have our in-year operating revenues, we have our total expenditures regardless of where we're funding those from, and then we have that separate section of the transfer of from accumulated surplus. So at the end of the day, we aren't running a deficit, we're just utilizing funds that we'd set aside in accumulated surplus to complete those projects, to continue those programs that we had planned on doing.
Okay, I got the thumbs up, so that's a good answer, so thank you. Do we have any other questions from trustees? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you very much. That takes us to BSCI-1D, 2026-27 budget components. Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and through the chair. So tonight we start bringing schedules forward for the draft 2026-27 budget. As presented for the budget timelines back in January, we will bring some schedules forward as we are building the budget, with the complete draft budget coming to business in early May. The first schedule in the package tonight is our enrollment. And this is the base of our budget, as a large part of the ministry's education core funding model is based around enrollment being the greatest generator attractor of funding. ADE, the average daily enrollment, is the enrollment measurement we use to attract that funding. And it is the average or expected average between our October 31st count date and our March 31st count date. In the going into this budget, we are forecasting a decrease of 0.7% in elementary and a 1.8% in secondary, bringing our overall enrollment to ADE enrollment to 56,358, or a combined decrease of 1% overall. In conversations with ministry staff, they are directing the sector to budget conservatively on their enrollment forecasts, as we have done here. The next schedule, Schedule 2, is our school basic budget. And this area of expenditure focuses on curriculum delivery, general classroom needs, and is divided into school-administered and centrally allocated funds. These schedules do not relate to staffing positions or the costs thereof. Funding for these expenditures come from the core education funding under the Learning Resource Fund, which attracts funding based on our ADE and grade level, JK-SK 1 to 3, grades 4 to 8, and grades 9 to 12. Schedule 2 before you is a summary of the overall, with Schedule 2.1 covering the elementary and 2.2 presenting the secondary. Just going through that Schedule 2 summary, I'm just going to run through the various categories that you see before you. I will touch on the allocation method in a moment and speak to elementary and secondary. But for some of the spending lines, we have school office. These are for items like office supplies, and often the larger expenditure in this line is the cost of photocopying. We have additional special education allocation, where we have allocated as over and above the special education envelope funding received, and this is attracted by students who spend a majority of their day in the dedicated special education classrooms. We also have a component for our French programming, which includes core French, your 4 to 8, as well as French immersion. We have general classroom needs, and this includes such things as learning materials. Under centrally allocated parameter-based, we have outdoor education. This aligns with funding provided by the Ministry for Outdoor Education. And this is only one piece of our overall outdoor education program, but expenditures that you'd find through this line here are environmental trips to Tiffin Center, Marsh. We've got our board memberships in OFIA and the Council of Outdoor Educators of Ontario, as well as our outdoor initiatives, including the Ed Center program here, as well as learning materials. We have our co-curricular, which covers in elementary our county events, including referee costs and teacher release. And then in secondary, we've got miscellaneous costs for professional development, kilometerage reimbursement, website costs, and office sponsorships. Cooperative education covers costs associated with our secondary school co-op program, including transportation, student training, and certifications. We also have our specialist high school major program allocations here directed by the ministry and are used for at the school level for certification and training, experiential learning, and sector partnered experiences. This also includes support for qualification and participation in our Skills Ontario competition. School-based priorities. This is central support for specific school needs, and this includes both or examples of superintendent's discretionary, so supporting their area of schools, as well as school cash online fees. Technical shop inspection and repairs. Our secondary shop equipment requires repairs, as well as there is a number of the equipment that is utilized does require regular inspections and annual sign-offs. Under centrally administered, again, coordinated and paid for centrally, we have our public performance licenses, and these are paid in order for us to adhere to copyright laws. We do this centrally, and this allows our schools to show movies as well as play and perform music. Under provisions, we have tech shop renewal. This is a continuation of our program to maintain and update our tech equipment. Last year, we did have some identified startup and retrofit needs in our elementary panel. We do not have any planned for or identified for the 26-27 school year, so you will see a slight decrease in that line. When it comes to secondary, again, these funds are used for replacing, updating, and introducing new equipment into our tech programs. Other board initiatives, examples of expenses here, and the main driver on this line is our provision for new school openings. So we do set aside some funds in our operating budget to support the outfitting of new schools with, for example, furniture and equipment and classroom materials. Although our ministry capital funding is intended to cover the first-time equipping, over the years, as funding and budgets have become tighter on capital projects, additional support has been required to get these schools outfitted. And as we are well aware, going into not this upcoming school year, but the following school year, we do have a number of new school openings, as well as an addition at our Nantire secondary school. We'll now take a look at the allocation model. If we go to 2.1 and we're looking at the elementary school, this is a good example and is reflected in the secondary as well, just using different numbers. So in elementary, every pupil attracts the per pupil amount at a school. Again, ministry funding is received through the Learning Resources Grant for this. Once the technical paper is received by the ministry, which we're hoping in April, but there has been no set date provided. If we do see a funding increase in that learning resource piece of the grants, then we will update and increase this accordingly, as we have done in the past. We have a per school amount, so regardless of the size of the school, all schools get a base amount. We do have a twin school amount. We have recognized in the past that having a school that is situated on multiple locations does incur some additional costs. And so we do have our Coldwater Moonstone, which is situated on 2 sites that attracts this. We have, as I mentioned before, an amount per special education class pupil, and this is each special education student that spends more than 50% of their time not in the standard classroom attracts this funding. We have our FSL, so students receiving core French 4 to 8 receive or attract some funding, as well as students in our FI attract some additional funding as well, acknowledging that resources for the French program do carry a higher price tag. The next 2 pages are provided on a school-by-school estimation on what the allocation will be for the 26-27 school year. We do a true-up once we do get into the school year. Once we do get those students in seats, we will only increase, never decrease, but if there is more students attracting funding, we will make sure those dollars get out to the school for use. The following Schedule 2.2 is the secondary. Follows the same concept in the elementary, just utilizing different funding numbers. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Trustee Bice.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent Van Nispen. As you can tell, I love it when we talk numbers. I had a thought. I wondered if we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I know, what a weird question. So, if the money we get for special education is linked to IPRCs, and from our student population count date, right, I noticed that the number of students that have the IPRCs in a given school is much less than the number of kids that have IPEs. And I know we have this great thing where we help anyone with their special education, whether they are identified or not. But I'm wondering if this approach has somehow led to a system of underfunding of our special education. And I know that's kind of a big question. You might not have an answer for it right now, but I'm wondering, because if we did more of those, we would get more funding. So I don't know.
Director Stevens wants to tackle this one.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Lloyd, to Trustee Bight. So we have to follow regulations. We can't just IPRC students who have an IP. There has to be a reason for that IPRC. So we couldn't just IPRC them into a program that they're not either attending or that they aren't a fit for, or whatever the process. Like, we have to have a reason for an IPRC. We can't just IPRC everyone. IEPs are how we work with students who have special education needs, but the IPRC process is a very formalized process that has guidance and legislation that we have to follow. So we couldn't just decide to IPRC a whole bunch more students to hope to generate dollars.
Follow up, Trustee Bites.
Thank you. Through you to Director Stevens. Thank you for that clarification. You know, I just got thinking. But then I was wondering, it seems like parents are always like, there's not enough assessments done each year. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Chair Rafik, you can, I feel like there's a limited amount we do, and I feel like there's always a waiting list. So I'm just wondering if we kind of cleared that backlog, it might help a bit. So I'm not, you know, obviously we can't break the rules or anything, but I'm just wondering how many kids with IEPs, you know, are kind of on the waiting list to go through this process, or if we have any details on that.
So I may look to Superintendent Jacobs if he's got any off the top of his head knowledge of wait lists, but I will say when we have students going through assessments, so we do authorize assessments, and we've done a very good job, Superintendent Jacobs have done a very good job of late to try and get those numbers down. An assessment does not necessarily mean an IPRC, so you could have an assessment with a diagnosis, still does not mean you're IPRC'd into a particular program. So you could have a diagnosis of learning disability. That doesn't necessarily mean you're IPRC'd into a program. Do you want to add to that, Superintendent Jacobs?
So I don't have specific numbers with me, and there's a number of assessments that we do. There's classroom assessments, we do CATIA, we do language assessments. Not sure if you're specifically referring to psychological assessments. We do get budget, and Dr. Davis, she translates those into how many assessments per school, but I don't have the numbers of the wait list. I know people are always wanting more, but again, even though we do these assessments, it doesn't automatically lead to a placement or an IPRC or identification. So an IPRC can lead to just an identification, or it could also lead to a placement, but the assessments might refute an identification as well. So. Yeah, but yes, I'll leave it at that.
I think Chair Rafik wanted to say something.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. Yes, I feel like Director Stevens and Superintendent Jacobs have done a great job saying what I was going to say as well. But yes, I think, Trustee Bites, that you might be mixing up assessments and the IPRC process, right? Just because you have an assessment, you may have, like Director Stevens said, a learning disability or certain things, but there's only certain ministry identified requirements that attract those special education dollars. Not everybody with a learning disability, not everybody with an IEP would get those extra dollars. It's only certain identifications from the ministry. So we could do, we are required to do IPRCs for everyone who needs one. It's not like an assessment where, yes, we could always be doing more assessments, and there's always maybe people waiting for them, if we're honest, right? But an IPRC would be a very different process. That would be something that we have to do for our students.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for that combined team response. Yeah, got me thinking. Anyway, I'll probably have more questions later. Thanks.
Trustee Foley, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Superintendent Nisman. So going back to my earlier question, are we losing anything? Are we losing programs because of the shrinkage in our population? Are we losing staff? Are we increasing class sizes anywhere? What's going on, because we are shrinking a little bit? I find it hard to believe, because just in my area alone, we're putting up 700 new units. So I know lots of people are exodusing Toronto. I'm surprised we're not getting people in our system. So I'm just wondering, where's the takeaway for us with that loss of students?
So thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Foley. So This is the start of our budget schedule presentation to the table here. Staff, senior admin are still working through pulling together the budgets on what our programming and what our staffing will be for the 26-27 school year. We will be bringing those schedules at a later date as we build to that May full budget package coming to the trustee table. So we will be able to speak to more of those type of details at a later date in this process.
Trustee Foley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any idea on, with programs or anything else that we're looking at, either shortening up, increasing in size like classes, or specific programs, especially labs? Will this affect any of those in any way at this point in time that you're aware of?
Director Stevens, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Lloyd, to Trustee Foley. So when we're reducing, we have a lower number of students, means we have a lower number of staff, means that there could be programs impacted. When you say the word programs, I think you're talking classes or courses in secondary. Classes and courses, those enrollment numbers are based on student choice. So if students choose to take a program, then that program will run at a school. Schools have a certain number of sections that they can allocate to, and that's how programs in secondary are chosen. So we don't want programs to not run. They are run by student choice as a general, first step in process. Then there are some difficult decisions that have to happen if there are not enough sections in a school to run every program, every course program that is asked for. But you are seeing a straight line through. Number of staff will be impacted based on projected enrollments, absolutely.
Trustee Bites, please.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Trustee Foley got me thinking. I didn't see music, our elementary music program on the list. I would love to see the outdoor education, but I didn't see the music. And I was just wondering where that's hidden, or please tell me we're not canceling it.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Bites. Again, this is just one small section of the overall budget. The music that you're looking for is housed in a different part of the budget.
Any further questions? Chair Rafik, please.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. Not to throw us off topic at all, but just with Trustee Bites' question, I just wanted to, we have all received a lot of questions lately about our music program, and I just wondered if we could clarify the changes in our music program. I think there's a misconception out there from some people that music has been canceled in the SCDSB, which is absolutely not the case. And I was just wondering if I see Associate Director Maltby reaching for his microphone. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Associate Director Maltby, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Chair Rafik. So absolutely not canceling music within the SCDSB. It's alive and well. There is a program called Repertoire Program that in a few of our schools has run outside of school hours. So what we're saying is that section that Director Stevens just spoke about would occur within the school day, within the four classes during the day. So absolutely not. We just finished meeting with the student achievement team around elementary music and secondary music, and we are looking at funds to support both moving forward.
Follow-up?
Yes, thank you very much, and through the chair, thank you very much for that. I appreciate the move to inside school hours. Outside school hours is not accessible for everyone. I live in a rural area. I remember myself as a student in high school. I couldn't stay after school. I had no other way to get home besides the bus, and I live in a rural area, and that is very much the case for a lot of students in my area. So when a program like that is a great program and very beneficial for many students, but when it's held outside of school hours, it's not accessible to all students. And I think our goal is to make things equitable for all. So I am very happy about that change. I understand that change is hard for anyone. When you're used to a certain way, to have a change is always difficult, but I do believe that it's an important move to make the program accessible for all our students. So I do thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? Okay, I just wanted to say, and Trustee Armstrong and I have been here through declining enrollment. Our board had a period of time where we had significant declining enrollment, and it does affect the bottom line. It does affect what we can offer. So I'm hopeful that our decline is not continuous and accumulate, because it will affect the budget. It will affect what we can do and offer. And I remember that period in time. I'm sure Trustee Armstrong does too, where it was very challenging because cuts had to be made, and those are very, very difficult to do. So I'm hoping that this is just a little blip, and we'll continue on from there. So with that, I don't see any other questions, so thank you very much. So that takes us to correspondence in our agenda. Is there any? And we don't have any. Are there any other matters from trustees? Okay. I just wanted to let everybody know I did participate in the OPSPA Board of Directors. Okay. I did participate in the OPSPA Board of Directors all day Saturday, and I will be forwarding out to you the update from that meeting for all trustees. And Chair Rafik.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I wasn't quick enough there. I just wanted to share a couple of things. Trustee Bites and I attended an assembly of Black Excellence at Tech Beaton last week. Was it last week? This week? Last week? It was recent, and it was wonderful. The school put so much work into the presentation. We both talked about there was videos from a lot of people that they spoke specifically about Tech Beaton, and I said to some staff on the way out, the fact that they said Tecumseth right in their video, it hit right. It showed the connection to the school, but it was just a really great. It was great to see the students and all the work that they had done, and it was a really great presentation. And then I also had the opportunity to attend the Inspire Women's Conference here at the board office yesterday, and it was fabulous. It was great to see so many of our secondary students here, and there was so many great workshops, and it was just it was a really great day. I particularly enjoyed Director Stevens' address to the group. She talked about how she had achieved her dreams of being the big boss, and that our board is currently run by women on both sides, and it was really great to hear that. But she also talked about how, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, I believe she said less than 1% of women are in top positions, and that's really important to remember too. So it's why we do the work that we're doing. So, but it was a great day. It was the first time that I've actually been able to attend. I know it's been happening for a few years, but it was the first time I was able to attend, and it was wonderful. I just also wanted to add thank you to everyone who worked to do it, to put the day on. I believe Superintendent Lalonde and Executive Assistant Stock did a lot of work, and it was really nice to see former Superintendent Chimay, who had started this, came in, and to see her get all teared up and really happy about the work that was still continuing in her absence. So just thank you to everyone involved. It was a great day.
Anything further? Okay, I don't see any. So are there any notice of motion for the next meeting? Okay, go ahead, Trustee Powell.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I'd like to move a motion that staff provide a report outlining the current financial resources allocated to the collection and reporting of violent incident data, including any anticipated resource requirements as the board continues to grow, in order to assist the board in its governance and financial oversight responsibilities, with the report to be presented by June 2026 and prepared within existing budget resources.
Okay, and do we need a seconder for that motion? Okay, Trustee Foley, please. Thank you. Okay, are there any other notices of motion? Okay, I don't see any, so I would entertain a motion to go into closed session, please. Okay, thank you, Trustee Harrigan, to seconder. Trustee Talbot, all those in favor? Thank you, and we'll go into closed session. So thank you, everyone. We are back in open session. There is nothing coming forward from closed session tonight, so that completes our agenda. So is there someone like to move that we adjourn? Trustee Bites, a seconder. Trustee Harrigan, all those in favor? Thank you, and we are adjourned.